Hello everyone and welcome to Helix Cloud Games. My name is Richie and this is CloudQuest, a cloud gaming show where we do a deep dive into one particular topic. This week we're talking about Ubisoft Classics. And joining me in this quest is Mr. Chris.
It's getting cloudy out there, folks.
You know, I did actually look up what Mr. Chris would be in Polish. And it was Pan Chris. So I was like,
that sounds like someone's going to assault me with a frying pan.
Yeah, so I thought, because we're actually going to be in Poland when this episode goes live.
We are celebrating a friend's wedding.
Yes, I thought I'd make a bit of a Polish theme to the intro. I was like, nah, that's just not as good. But I did it anyway. You did it anyway. Sorry to any of our Polish fans out there, I just insulted your language. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our great shows go live, such as the Sound Stadia podcast every single Monday on YouTube and podcast services, where you can also get this very show, our live streams, which not actually live stream this week, but we did give you a first look of Overcooked.
Yeah, we did.
So, Chris, Ubisoft Classics announced to come to PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, Ubisoft Plus Classics, to give it its proper name.
I feel like they should just drop the plus. It's because I just did without thinking.
Yeah, Ubisoft Plus Classics, which it's going to be hard to keep in line with that now. It's coming to PlayStation Plus's new form of whatever. I keep wanting to say PlayStation Now to some degree, but I guess the whole thing is just PlayStation Plus, whether it's Essential, Premium, Deluxe. There's a middle one I forgot.
Is Essential? No, there's only 3.
No. There's a fourth one for countries that don't have cloud gaming access to PS3 games, which is Deluxe. Essential, Premium's the top one. There's one in the middle. We should have done our research.
We should have done. I was
ultimately though, Richie. No, neither was I. Ultimately though, the reason we want to bring it up is because, as Google Stadia fans, what did we talk about last week? A bit of a refresh, and we love Stadia Pro. It's got such a variety. We actually said on a previous episode of SideQuest, we actually rated Stadia Pro the better offering when comparing it to Ubisoft Plus. That was the consensus we came to, if I recall. So, what could we do with Ubisoft Plus Classics? Because PlayStation are getting it for free on top of their offerings already. So what's to say we don't add this to Stadia Pro and just go all out and make this one of the best subscription services out there?
Yeah, it's called Ubisoft Plus Classics will launch bundled with the PlayStation Plus Extra or PlayStation Plus Premium subscription tiers. We don't know if this is going to be powered through the cloud or these available to download yet, because there's not that information. I don't think it's been revealed, but I don't think Ubisoft care strongly either way, because they're all in for cloud gaming anyway.
They certainly are.
But what is Ubisoft Plus Classics? So it's not the full Ubisoft Plus where you get everything.
Yeah, it's not classics in terms of like old games either.
No, it's classics as in these are some of the best games Ubisoft have made.
Classic.
Yeah.
So what have we got?
It will launch with 27 titles and grow to 50 titles by the end of 2022. So do you want to go through the list, or do you want to just pick out some choice ones? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, we can go through and just pick out a few choice ones. I think starting off with, even though, as I alluded to, it says classics, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yep. Straight up in there. One of the in fact, biggest Assassin's Creed game ever in terms of revenue, scope, size, content, long-term support. Just had Dawn of Ragnarok added. They've also got further plans for later this year. It's just included now with the PlayStation Plus top 2 tiers.
You just thought of something that is also not mentioned in any of the articles I've read. For, say, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, do you get the full DLC, or do you just get the base game? We currently don't know that. With Ubisoft Plus, you get everything. But with this being like a stripped down service as part of someone else's premium offering, I could see it just being the base game.
Yeah, I could as well, because then your expansion would be to invest in Ubisoft Plus and get the full gear if you want to. It'll be very interesting to see if you can just buy the add-ons, because PlayStation sell the add-ons a la carte. So if you have the subscription, can then you just pay for Dawn of Ragnarok and kind of bundle it together?
This is one of the things I had issues with PS Now in the past, where I liked the idea that I could download the game to my console or play in the cloud. What I hated about it was they were effectively two separate instances of the game that did not talk together. Because
your save file from Now wouldn't work on your PS4.
Yeah, I originally played Persona 5 on PS Now, but because I started playing it downloaded, I ended up playing just a downloaded version, because when I logged on to the cloud, it was just my save file wasn't there, and there was no way. I hope they fix that with PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
PlayStation Now merger, but
reading the actual Ubisoft blog and how it describes it, it does say about Ubisoft Plus, the core Ubisoft Plus coming to PlayStation with the 100 plus titles, content packs, rewards, premium services. It does say that's already available on PC, Stadia and Luna, which we knew about. And then it says, exclusively Ubisoft Classics is separate. But you're right, it doesn't actually go in detail about the deluxe, the super fancy editions. But
one of the things I was actually just leading up to was, this actually doesn't, that flaw in PlayStation Now is actually not relevant for this, because you get Ubisoft Connect. Ubisoft Connect will be a part of, will come to PlayStation as part of this deal.
That is a good point.
And confirmed through Ubisoft's own website, so pretty reliable source right there.
It is, it is indeed.
So theoretically, shouldn't matter. You might have to re-download, even if you're in the cloud, your Ubisoft Connect file, but your saves should be good.
Oh, well, Valhalla's a great one. And just to go back to our previous point, Richie, as well, it's extra. It's essential, extra, premium, and deluxe is for the countries that don't have the PS3 cloud streaming. So there is a full secret one for some countries out there. But to bring it back around, Valhalla, great starting point. Terrific game. Like, that's with one subscription model, you've got 150 plus hours of content just with the base game right there.
Yeah.
Awesome start.
What I'm liking as a PlayStation Plus subscriber is, well, actually just this list of games I've just suddenly added to my library on PlayStation that has Connect. So if I do get Ubisoft Plus later in the future, or if Ubisoft Plus Classics comes to Stadia, suddenly I have access to my save files wherever I want them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Classics does move across to, say, Stadia Pro as like an optional add-on or extra included in it. Would your save file... I guess your save file would work across, but would you have these Ubisoft games to play on Stadia because you've got it as part of PlayStation Plus?
Right, well, this is the thing, because the way I see this is that Ubisoft Plus Classics is just I can see this being its own standalone subscription, like a lower tier of Ubisoft Plus.
Right.
That PlayStation Pro gives you access to.
It kind of bundles it, yeah.
Yeah. But there is some Quest games that makes me doubt that this might come to Stadia anytime soon, because the games aren't on there, on Stadia.
So the games list is giving you that?
Yeah, the game list is giving me a bit of doubt. Like, For Honor has been announced coming to Stadia 2 years in a row, is no longer coming, is part of this. We'll not dwell on that. The South Park games, Fractured But Whole and Stick of Truth, both awesome games. Everyone should play them if you're a South Park fan. Not on Stadia, and there's been no movement there at all that I've heard. But there is a few games that haven't... It doesn't mean... Just a game not being there yet doesn't mean it won't come, but...
Yeah, well, we can see they're going to expand this to 50 games by the end of 2020, which I think is quite a big expansion for within the next, 6-7 months from launch. So that's quite a brave statement to begin with. So these games are already obviously in some kind of process for getting certified to be included in the Ubisoft Classics lineup. But yeah, you're completely right. Yeah, we've got The Crew 2, Child of Light, Far Cry, 3 and 4 aren't currently out yet, but they are listed. You're right in saying South Park, The Division. We don't have The Division on Stadia. We've got The Division 2. Oh, Trials Fusion's rising. Okay, Watch Dogs is there. But yeah, you're right. There's about a 50-50 split, I'd say, give or take, with titles. But to look at it at its core, do you think... I mean, we spent a whole episode last week actually talking about what Stadia could do to kind of refresh and just revitalise certain aspects of their library and their offerings. And I don't actually think Stadia Pro was something we really touched on because it's quite solid as is. Yeah. But what would be, I think, a really good boon is if they... Because we keep saying time and time again, Ubisoft games will not go on Pro because of Ubisoft Plus. However, Ubisoft Plus Classics could kind of negate that in a little way and give Stadia users a bit more of a foot in the door to Ubisoft's library, which, back to your point, might mean you'd get some more cross-progression, pardon the pun, into the full Ubisoft Plus. You have Stadia Pro, you play one or two games. Hey, Assassin's Creed Valhalla's part of Stadia Pro. You chip away a few hours and you go, you know what, Pro's not really working for me. However, Ubisoft Plus looks right up my street. And then they see that transition of funds across to their subscription model instead, which is good for Ubisoft, which in turn is good for Stadia because they'll want to support them more and bring more games. So it's kind of like a symbiotic circle almost of working together.
Now, there's one thing that I do have a thought about. PlayStation seem to be a holdout on getting Ubisoft Plus across. I mean, the full fat Ubisoft Plus is confirmed coming to PlayStation now.
Yeah, it's not an Xbox yet either.
It's not an Xbox. Point that out. I wonder if this Ubisoft Plus Classics is kind of part of the... Well, it almost certainly is part of the deal to bring Ubisoft Plus over. But is this potentially a bespoke offering?
Oh, so you think it's
to drive not to drive players into Ubisoft Plus, but from Sony's view to drive people onto PlayStation Pro as part of their revamp?
Yeah, it's definitely... Some words were probably exchanged in PlayStation Sony head offices around how can we compete with Game Pass without throwing our own first-party titles into the mix, and partnering with one of the big third parties such as EA or Ubisoft seems to be quite good, because Xbox do bolster a lot of some of the Game Pass titles with EA Play, which is EA's version of Ubisoft Plus to a degree. So yeah, this is kind of just the antithesis of that, which is Ubisoft Plus and Sony partner up means you get titles like Assassin's Creed there as part of your subscription without it being your own title, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see various iterations back and forth. Like, I can see Sony going, we want Ubisoft Plus as part of the like top tier PlayStation Pro to push people onto that. Then Ubisoft going, maybe not the full library. That's a bit spicy for us.
Yeah.
Why don't we compromise and come up with a Ubisoft Plus Lite, which is now branded as Classics. Yeah. So you get some of like the newest games, like Assassin's Creed and Valhalla. You get some of like the older stuff, like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which we're still waiting to come to Stadia, and Fractured But Whole. But it's a good mix of games, to be honest.
It is. It does kind of bug me a little bit that, again, they use the word classics, and yet there is no Rayman here. I see no Splinter Cell here. Like, they're the Ubisoft Classics. I see no Prince of Persia on this list. They're the Ubisoft Classics.
There's still another 23 games to come there by the end of...
that is true.
Yeah. Right, that is true. I'm going to just quickly run through the entire list. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, For Honor, The Crew 2, Child of Light, Eagle Flight, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, Far Cry 3 Remaster, Far Cry 4, Legendary Fishing, Risk Urban Assault, South Park The Fractured But Whole, South Park The Stick of Truth, Space Junkies, Star Trek Bridge Crew, Starlink Battle for Atlas, Steep, The Crew, The Division, Trackmania Turbo, Transference, Trials Fusion, Trails of the Blood Dragon game, Trials Rising, Valiant Hearts, The Great War, Watch Dogs, Werewolves Within, and Zombie.
That
a mix.
Famous Wii U game.
having a trial. Oh, it is Trials of the Blood Dragon, not Trails of the Blood Dragon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's
Trails of.
Yeah.
What was throwing us off?
Trails of Cold Steel.
Cold Steel. Yeah, I was going to say Cold Fusion then, but that's Trials Fusion.
You know how we were talking in like Sounds of Stadia about outright games having long names. The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel.
Yeah, that is a long name. So realistically, then, Richie, you think this is more bespoke to PlayStation rather than?
I am leaning that way. I'd like to see it come to Pro, but
So to look at kind of the other side of the coin, then, do we see Ubisoft Classics become part of Game Pass as well?
It depends how bespoke it is. If it's a case of Sony have negotiated a Ubisoft Plus Lite, but it's not like, okay, this is like an exclusive deal. It's like, okay, well, it's just like we've talked Ubisoft into creating this. Then I could see come to Game Pass.
It's kind of like marketing in a weird way. If Xbox did have some kind of Ubisoft Classic portfolio, I could see it being different from PlayStation's portfolio, like almost like a bespoke one for Xbox. Splinter Cell was very much aligned with Xbox marketing back in the day with 360. I could see a world where PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass both have Ubisoft Classics. However, PlayStation gets Prince of Persia, Sands of Time remake, and Game Pass gets the next Splinter Cell remake or remaster, whatever that looks like. In you know the way they used to fight it out on the E3 stages for like, I have Call of Duty marketing rights, we have Assassin's Creed marketing rights, but instead it's now played out on the subscription fronts where they're all vying for the freebie.
I can see Ubisoft playing both sides here as going, because at the moment Sony can turn up and walk on stage and go, best place to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla is on PlayStation Pro, and Xbox is just like, hold my beer. what are we going to do? How are we going to get this into Game Pass?
So, and then in turn, that would hopefully mean that Google Stadia gets us a Ubisoft Classic melded in with Stadia Pro, where maybe Stadia get the pick of which of the games actually run best in the cloud. Because we know there's some ups and downs when it comes to frame rate, resolution on the Ubisoft ports. It could be, again, a good way to cultivate the best titles that Stadia see the statistics in and say, you know what? Valhalla has great conversion numbers to Ubisoft Plus. The Division 2 has great conversion numbers to Ubisoft Plus. So, Google, we suggest that you take these 4 or 5 games, put them into Pro, because we see the best conversion to Ubisoft Plus. And then again, back to what I was saying about synergy and ecosystems, it will benefit both parties to have those tentpole games. And then, Richie, imagine when we do our monthly breakdown of the blog and say, guess what's coming to Pro this month? You've got indie title, AAA game maybe a AA game, and your headliner, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or Infinity, or whatever the next big Ubisoft game is, X-Defiant, something like that.
Yeah.
Skull and Bones maybe one bloody day.
The thing that's interesting to me as well is because we know like a lot of the games that are coming to especially the higher tiers of PlayStation Plus haven't been announced yet. This could be making some of that library, because we know that PlayStation Plus is going to be over 400 games potentially.
Yes, 700 for the premium tier, but that includes a full back catalogue of
PlayStation titles
and everything. But funnily enough, there's a lot of Ubisoft games go back the generations as well, so maybe this is PlayStation going to Ubisoft. We want some old PS2 games on this platform. We don't have the license to them. Could we do something with you? And Ubisoft go, well, I tell you what, do us some classics, do us Ubisoft Plus. We'll give you the license to make whatever old game from 2002 onto your subscribers. So it might actually be not just be these classics, but there might actually behind the scenes deals going on to get just the or even older content that we wouldn't even consider relevant today. Because 700 games is a big target to hit.
What we've seen from Stadia is Ubisoft are okay with bringing their older titles, because Ubisoft could have quite easily took the stance of going, you know what, Stadia, you're going to get everything we're going to make from this point onwards.
They could have done.
But we are seeing them go back, especially definitely into like the PS4, Xbox One era. But they could go further back and just, because I can see Ubisoft as a company going, we want all of our games in the cloud, like literally all the games that we've ever made that and don't have weird license and stuff like Just Dance. So everything in the cloud and playable wherever people want to play, whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, Stadia, Luna, direct on PC, on your phone, whatever, all as part of Ubisoft Plus. So you can pay as one subscription, you get an entire back catalogue of games.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Reading from the end of the blog as well is the Ubisoft Senior Vice President of Partnerships actually says, like, this is just the beginning as we ultimately make Ubisoft Plus available to PlayStation owners, and we continue to build our vision and provide players with more options to access their favourite games wherever they are. Which very much feeds into the mantra of cloud gaming. It's just to access the content on any device you own. And with cross-play, cross-progression, cross-save, all of that Ubisoft Connect stuff, it really is making that a reality. What I would like to know, Richie, is in this list of games, they don't actually state in the blog whether these games are streamed or downloaded to said console.
This is what I brought up earlier in the show, actually. It's not confirmed, but because they are on... It's not the entry-level tier of PlayStation Plus. So it's not on these... This is not a part of the Essential package. Mm-hmm. It's from the... I really need to remember these names of these tiers.
Extra?
It's from the Extra tier and the Premium tier, and potentially the fourth tier that isn't available. Yeah, the Deluxe tier. These are the tiers where you start getting cloud gaming with PlayStation. Well, actually, is it just the top tier? Is it just the Premium you get cloud gaming?
No, Extra as well. The Premium one is the one that has the streaming for the older games, so PS1, PSP and stuff as well.
So it might be a mixed bag. It might be a case of, if the game is available as part of cloud gaming on your tier, you get it as part of PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, I'm just really interested to see if I have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, do I have to download it to my PS5, or can I play it through PlayStation Now or whatever that is? Well, we don't even know if it's still called like that. What is Sony's cloud service called now? Is it PlayStation Plus Cloud?
I don't know. It's just PlayStation Plus so far as we know, but once we get our hands on it when it launches in June...
It's actually out in May in Asia, like 24th of May, so end of this week it is out. But the game list is like...
If you're not a member...
It's out now.
It's out now, yeah.
In Asia.
This what we're talking about is out now, so if you're in Asia, let us know in the comments how this is going for you. Genuinely, we're very interested to hear.
Yeah, because the game list has to be out by then, right? We have to have an announcement at some point that's going to say here's
the PlayStation
several hundred games,
not the Ubisoft, because I've just read the Ubisoft one, but
lots of stuff.
Yeah, so it's June the 23rd in Europe, June the 13th in North and South America. So it's a staggered release, but it's not that far. It's just fine.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, I'm not sure with Valhalla, because Valhalla's a cross-generation game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
PlayStation 5 games aren't streamed. It's PlayStation 4 down on PlayStation Plus are cloud gaming. So it really depends which version.
We don't know.
I think you'll get probably the Stadia Amazon Luna version.
Interesting.
I don't think you'll get the PS5 version. So it'd be. I'd imagine this is equivalent to PlayStation 4.
If you streamed it, you'll get the game build version of that.
This is my prediction. Assassin's Creed Valhalla will be available on PS Plus in the cloud, but it won't be this. It might not be the same version as the downloadable version. Yeah, the downloadable version might be the PS5 version. Yeah. The cloud version might be the PS4 version.
Yeah. When you said that out loud initially, I thought you meant that they would get the Stadia, like a link to Stadia to play it through the cloud. And I was like, no, that'll never happen. Not anytime soon. But I see what you mean, the build model for the Stadia version.
But I did say, you get the Stadia version, and realised, no, there's literally a PS4 build. So you'll get the PS4 build in the cloud, the PS5 version as download. And with Ubisoft Connect, they will talk. So that's fine.
Yeah. It's very exciting times. Like, I'm super excited just to get my hands on like PlayStation Now. I've dabbled in it just like you have, but the fact that they're going to open up the catalogue to like generations of PlayStation content, like my old PS1 behind me there has been sat watching me for years now, and I haven't played it, I haven't plugged it in. I've got the whole list of games on my shelf library, but the fact that I'm just going to be able to boot up a browser and just play some of these games with my subscription I already have is very exciting. And I know you're talking about Ubisoft, but yeah, just the fact that cloud gaming in subscriptions is just elevating the amount of content to an insane level. Could you imagine going back to 10-year-old Richie and telling you that you have access to literally nearly 1,000 games on your console without having to go to Blockbuster, without having to beg your parents for an early birthday
crappy
present?
Handheld 10,001 things where they're all brick.
Yeah, none of that. It's like it sounds like an old adage, but kids today don't know how lucky they've got it. But damn, this is a good list.
When I heard about this news, I thought this news is perfect for you, Chris, because as someone who is a Ubisoft fan, is a PlayStation fan, and a Stadia fan, and because Kinect is coming to PlayStation, Ubisoft Plus is such a... This is like the one thing that was probably making you hesitate in Ubisoft Plus at times. The fact that you couldn't play your game wherever you wanted to. But now if you get Ubisoft Plus, you could literally just play...
Yeah.
Well, this is more the Kinect news rather than the Classics news, but...
For me particularly, I again, for viewers out there, you'll know I still buy the deluxe versions of the game like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry through physical because the Ubisoft website gives me 20% off using my Ubi points that I've gathered. So I get the deluxe ones for like £65 instead of 80. So I'm not going to buy it on Stadia for £80 when I could buy it for 64 and have the same thing running on my PS5. But yeah, this totally alleviates that because then I can play wherever I want and my save will go across, which is... Yeah. It probably means you're going to see more Ubisoft streams from me going forward because I can play anywhere.
Because I can generally see you just eventually just having Ubisoft Plus all the time. Because how many Ubisoft games you play throughout? Yeah, it's like...
That's true. Yeah. But I guess to wrap it up, Richie, do we think Stadia... Well, actually, two questions. One, would Stadia Pro benefit from a Ubisoft Classic add-on?
Yes. I mean, more games to the service is... It's a no-brainer, really.
Would you accept that with a slight price increase, though?
If
Stadia Pro went up by £3 a month, but it came with a couple of Ubisoft Classics, is that acceptable?
Theoretically, but I'm not sure Stadia Pro outside of Ubisoft is strong enough to justify it. Because then the thing is, we know, we're getting 27 games immediately, going up to 50 by the end of this year. But we don't know if that will grow from there, if games will cycle in or out.
Yeah, we don't know much right now. That's the thing.
Yeah, we don't know much, so it really depends on them. If it's going to be, you know what, you get 50 games and that's your lot. Then probably not. If you get 50 games by the end of this year and we commit to like just even one game extra a month, so next year you'll get an additional 12 and so on.
Okay.
I could see that being worthwhile.
Follow-up question then, do you think it will?
No, I'm at the moment leaning this to, at least not in the short term, I'm leaning towards this being initially is a bespoke deal they've got with Sony, which is that it works for Sony because they're relaunching PlayStation Plus, so it adds more value to there. It's finally got Ubisoft in to get Ubisoft Plus to the platform. I can see this being a Sony thing this year, but eventually something similar coming to Xbox and potentially Stadia next year. Okay. I think that they might react to this news, and then whatever initial deal they have with Sony when the time's out, say if there's 1 year exclusivity on Ubisoft Plus Classics, because if you're Sony, you're getting there in there. Some sort of exclusivity.
Okay, and a bonus question then, just to add on to the top of those two. If Ubisoft gets acquired by someone, what happens to all these connects and deals and games on every platform?
Well, when you buy a company, you buy the contracts. So even if Microsoft bought Ubisoft, they'd still have to honour whatever contracts are in place with Sony for at least for the length of time the contracts are, or negotiate with Sony to buy them out of them.
Well, whatever happens with Ubisoft and their acquisitions, I guess we'll save that for another week.
Yeah. I mean, this looks like Sony are potentially closer to buying Ubisoft than Microsoft.
Lots of softs in there.
Yeah. But that's all we have time for this week. If you liked the video, hit that like button and consider becoming a member for as little as 99p. We can get early access to this very show. If you've got an idea for a topic you want us to discuss, let us know in the comments of the video or in our Discord server. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Quest completed.